Hello Cornerstone, thanks for taking a minute to join me for this video. I want to do videos on a regular basis just as a way to stay connected with you. These videos might have a couple of different things in them. They might be some things from last Sunday's sermon, some deleted scenes if you will, that didn't make it into the things that we were able to explore in God's Word together this last week. It might be something that we're going to be talking about in the week to come that you can begin to be thinking about, praying about, or reading about in God's Word. We might chat about some things that I've read or am thinking about that pertain to how we live out our Christian life on a week-to-week, day-to-day basis. Or there might be some updates from things going on in the congregation at large. I am looking for help with one thing. I need a name for these. I thought about like Costello Connection, but that just sounds way too corny. So if you have a good idea for something that we could give, a name that we could give to these update videos, go ahead and email me please at brent.costello@ccblaine.org. This week I want to take just a minute to talk about something that didn't make it into the sermon last Sunday, which I'm really kind of bummed about because it's actually one of my favorite passages on holiness. And it comes out of Leviticus. Maybe you're thinking, man, Leviticus? That's where like yearly Bible reading plans go to die, right? I mean, how many times have you heard somebody say, yeah, I started reading through the Bible and Genesis was great and Exodus, that was some good stuff too. And then I got to Leviticus and I couldn't make it through. Well, some of my favorite passages on holiness are in Leviticus. It's a lot more than just a book of rules. I love these verses out of Leviticus chapter 20, verses 7 and 8. It says this, "Consecrate yourselves, therefore, and be holy, for I am the Lord your God. Keep my statutes and do them. I am the Lord who sanctifies you." And here's what I love about those two little verses. God is placing on his people the requirement for holiness. And yesterday we talked about how God's holiness means that he is so far different than us. So for God to look at his people and say, I'm holy, you need to be holy too, that is no small thing. He says, you've got to keep my statutes. All these rules I'm giving you, do them. And what a heavy burden that feels like. But then God says, I am the Lord who sanctifies you. And to be sanctified is the process of being made holy. So God is both putting this requirement on his people and saying that he is going to fulfill the requirement himself. And obviously, for us now, thousands of years later, we know that God fulfilled the requirement for our holiness in his Son, Jesus Christ. And that when we look to Christ and trust him, we are given God's holiness. What a beautiful thing. What a wonderful thing that God has done for us. And I love how in Leviticus, these two little verses, God makes it plain the requirements of holiness, and he makes it plain that he's the one that fulfills them on our behalf. I'm so grateful for that. This coming Sunday, February 5th, as we think about who God is and continue our Back to Basics series, we'll be talking about the fact that God is sovereign, that he's always in control. That can be a tough thing to wrap our heads around. If there's something you'd specifically like me to address, again, shoot me an email at brent.costello@ccblaine.org. I don't know that I'll be able to work it into the sermon, but I would love to hear from you. Hopefully we'll see you next week, and thanks so much for taking a couple minutes just to watch this update.